Hey, hey, Survivor Rights. We are going live with my friend and right up there, epic human in the
Well,
planet
about you.
Earth. Dr. Natalie Bolin, you guys. Sorry we were a couple minutes late. We it was totally my fault on a technical difficulty. She's sitting over there in the worthy.
We are all
Uh, Hi, Fran. Welcome, everybody. We're going to take a couple minutes for people to hop on here. I wanted to start by, oh my goodness, I watched for anybody out there, if you have not watched the Bridging the Gap videos in the past, did you watch that last night, Natalie?
I didn't have a chance. I was at a board meeting. Wah wah.
Yeah. Well, I was a ballin' baby the whole time. And then she got to me at the end. I couldn't even talk. So coming into tonight, after last night, it was, for those of you who don't know, um, uh, Galen and Rhonda Grillo run Bridging the Gap. So if anybody out there doesn't know that, I can't imagine anyone doesn't. But if you don't, um, they do a quarterly show, and they had on a couple from Alaska or from Australia, and they were talking about their daughter that was mistreated as a sister worker in a horrific situation, and then how they were treated by the workers after that. It was so painful to listen to. So if you didn't see it, I hope that people will watch it when it comes out in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I literally couldn't even speak. When she got to me, had been crying for an hour, and I was cried all the way through it. So that's why we're going to have this conversation tonight, because I am not alone in the emotion that I feel, and I am a very well trained, highly therapied, very educated person. So, our guest tonight, again, Dr. Natalie Bolin. We are going to talk. Last week we talked about bridges and balm. We probably should have talked about you first, but it's working out. People can just flip flop that. But you created Pathways to Healing. And it is such an incredible all volunteer organization again. So everything we're going to talk about tonight is a volunteer organization. And we have a lot to get through. So let's just jump right in. I want to hear from you, Natalie, the origin story and your heart, you personally, when from your professional background of doing what you do all day, every day, your education, your experience, all of it. I want to put a trigger warning out there to people. That this is going to be a tough conversation. We're going to talk about everything from suicide, depression, a lot of different things. You might have more to add to that, but I do want that trigger warning out there. So if anybody's never heard of the 2x2 Church, it is specific to the 2x2 Church members and ex-members. I want to also clarify that. Is it for members and ex-members? Anybody in the 2x2 Church. Um, so I'm going to just let you go with why did you do this? What does healing mean to you? And your passion behind it, because it's your organization.
Yeah. You know what? It's our organization.
True, it is.
It really is. It's our community's organization. I did not do this alone. There was a whole bunch of people behind me, next to me, pulling me, all of the things. I'll just kind of start from the beginning. I mean, I come to you with 30 years of experience in social work. So this is my space. I know it. The majority of those years were spent working in child protective services. I was a entry level social worker and then moved into, emergency response, going out doing investigations. Found myself really specializing in child sexual abuse cases. With my tenure there in child welfare, worked in the court system. So understand what the investigations need to look like, what it means to take things to court, and then work with families. And went through my clinical practice under the umbrella of child welfare and specialized in trauma. The trauma therapies that I primarily worked under EMDR. I did a lot of CBT, DBT, worked a lot with addictions with our families and children. And so I came to this situation with, all of this background and experience and being born and raised in the 2 by 2 church. So, when when all of this crisis came out, um, I was immediately tapped into by the ministry, to just come in, and initially I thought they really wanted help, to be honest. And so and both Ben, my husband, is a school psychologist, so we are both in this field. And so we really initially felt like, yeah, we're happy to help. Let's, not
Yes.
knowing, right, the extent of what we were dealing with. There was a group of us therapists. We called it the professing therapist. Out of, I think there was 9 of us. I don't think any of us are professing any longer. So, but initially from the church, we came together organically, and from all across the states and other countries. It it was like divine intervention on how we all came together, to be quite honest.
Mm.
And so we started coming together consulting, because
Mhm.
what we found is that we were being tapped into by not only the ministry, but by survivors and people reaching out, because we bring this really unique perspective, being a social worker and being part of the church. And so that's kind of how this all started, to be honest. We were consulting together. Really, it gave us a bird's eye view of what was happening in different regions, um, what one overseer was saying versus another overseer, what we were being told. And so we were starting to put together kind of the story of what was happening and what was not happening. And so we worked together, for a period of like 6 months or so. And then I always heard about AFTT. That's when Cynthia and Lauren and Sherry were started the hotline. But we didn't come together and start working together towards later on in the fall. And it was Cynthia and Lauren mainly, that I started consulting with and working with, and then moved into becoming the executive director of Advocates for the Truth, AFTT. So that took off. And as we know, so much was happening. And just with the hotline, shortly after the FBI investigation was announced, and full steam ahead.
Yes.
And then, towards the fall, it really became very apparent that we needed to split up investigation from survivor care. Still work together, but really keep it separate, into 2 separate entities. So Cynthia started the 2 by 2 church accountability group, and then I split off and started Pathways to Healing. But all of the volunteers that we had with us under AFTT came with us. It was
Yes.
it was incredible. And it wasn't like a divide. We're still considered sister
Mhm.
nonprofits. We work really closely together, but we also focus on 2 different things. So Cynthia's a nonprofit, and I am too. So I'm nonprofit, IRS designated nonprofit, and so that's how Pathways was born, really.
Yeah. So tell us about the concept. I think that it is brilliant, by the way. So I see it as a gateway, like the gatekeeper to all services. And I know you started out specifically around survivor care specific to CSA and SA, and that has expanded beyond what, as we have become very aware of how egregious the abuses truly are and how deep they go. So I want anybody out there that's listening to this, that if you were not a victim of SA or CSA, please know that this is still a resource for you if you are battling with some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. So go ahead and talk to us about the concept and how you work.
So it's really within the name, Way to Healing Network. So our we're really trying to build a network of a healing community, essentially. And our North Star is focused on healing and education. So everything we do through these lens of healing and education. So we we offer the clinical consultation. So anyone can reach out to help find a therapist, and we do that internationally. If someone needs specific resources in different areas, we can help connect that way. We have our care package team, which let me tell you is so impactful. And our care package teams, they're international. So we have our South America team, um, we have our North American team. We have a South African team. We also have our UK and Ireland. We kind of refer to them as our European team. And these are a group of volunteers that just pour so much love into these care packages to send to survivors. And either someone can nominate a survivor to receive one, or survivors themselves can reach out and request. And you can do that through our website. And I'll put our website, it's www.pathways2healing.org. And at the very top of our website, there's a resource tab, and that's how you get to our care package team. But so we offer that, and then we offer our advocacy training, which is it's a 30-hour, 10-week training that is offered to people that either want to become more trauma informed trained or want to work towards being an advocate for our community. So if you take our training, there's no expectation that you'll become an advocate. We hope you do, but there's no expectation around it. And so we have our advocacy team under the umbrella of Pathways. And then we have our wellness series, and which is just as themes come up in our community. Under AFTT, we had a book club that was really popular. Our wellness series will introduce like different types of treatment or holistic ways to, just promote that healing for our community. So those things fall under Pathways. Going back to the clinical side, so we work kind of like a clearinghouse for the different funds. We do not provide funding directly for the treatment. I honestly feel like that's a conflict of interest. And so we function more of like a clearinghouse. And so we work with Bridges and Balm, Renewal North, United Open Arms. We're starting some conversations, hopefully, with the Washington Fund to see how we can support up there. But what we do is we will help find a trauma informed therapist. We look at what type of treatment is needed. We'll look at the duration and frequency of the treatment. And really, what that is primarily for is to help the funds budget out the support. And so we do this in 6-month increments. So when somebody reaches out and lets us know, hey, I need funding, we we can help connect that, and then it's guaranteed for 6 months, and then we'll renew it every 6 months as needed. And so sometimes that means that there might be a wait list for treatment, and it's because the funds have just they're at where their funding is, and so we just have to wait for that, and that way we're not disrupting treatment, which is really bad.
Real problem, which is happening in the Washington area. So,
Yes, yes. And it can become a huge safety concern.
yes,
When somebody's in the middle of treatment and all of a sudden that gets cut off. I mean, we're
yes,
talking about safety as in suicide, people hurting
yes,
themselves. It is very serious.
very.
So we've set up a process for that not to happen.
Thank you. So, someone reaches out to you, they're either in crisis. What I see from my end of it, I'm just going to tell you from my perspective. I have people sometimes that are in complete crisis that I am like, you need to get in touch with them directly, immediately. And then I have the complete opposite of people who are like, I have never, I'm not that bad. It's not as bad as everybody else. And all these other people have it worse, but I really, really could use some support. And everything in between is
Yes,
my experience.
that's what we see too. Yep.
Okay.
And we try not to function as a crisis line because we don't cover our phones and our emails 24/7. So we encourage people that if you're in a crisis, call 988, which is a crisis line, nationally and internationally, or call 911. Call your 911 is not ideal, but it's better than somebody hurting themselves.
Yes.
And so and we still work with people in crisis. So
Yes.
yeah, and,
Yes.
and and we do. And so the type of treatments that we can um, not provide but connect with. So we do crisis connection. So we'll either have people go into a crisis stabilization bed or into a crisis stabilization unit. It could be residential or short term. We'll help people with that. Psychiatric hospitalization. We have helped people get connected with residential treatment, 30, 45, 60-day treatment. And that can be for a whole array of things that they want to address, whether it's mental health, addiction. It's rare, but eating disorder is another one that does need some residential treatment typically. We also, and this is primarily who we're connecting, is people that need individual therapy, but we'll also connect people to couples and family therapy. And then, and some people need group therapy, which is appropriate in some instances. So it's a whole array of treatment that we're able to find that connection for.
That. How do you make sure that they feel safe through that process? That's something that I've really had to learn a lot about. Um, and it's, unknowingly, sometimes people reach out to me a lot. And then if I don't reply in a short window of time, or, it's like, and then their feelings are really hurt, or then they withdraw completely. And I'm just like, so that's partly why I want as much information out there for you guys, because they should be coming to you. You are the primary resource if they're in crisis or need help.
Yeah, and again, we want to build that community.
Yes.
So, and which is, I stress the advocacy training because that is one way for us to be able to do that. But so we're bound by confidentiality. We have three clinicians. Actually, we just added a four clinicians that we all work under a license. We all carry liability insurance, and we are bound by confidentiality. Like I could lose my license if I broke that. So we take it very, very serious, and that's why we have the process set up the way we do under Pathways. We also use an electronic health record system. It's called Jane, and that's where we store all of our information. And so it's a protected, HIPAA compliant database that we use under Pathways. And so those are kind of the practical ways that we try to ensure survivors feel safe. It's also just being really patient, answering all of their questions. Sometimes we'll see people kind of reach out, and you can tell they're not quite ready to get into therapy. They're a little hesitant, and that's okay. And we can
Yes.
pick that up, and we'll just be there. We'll answer their questions like their toe, being tipped in the
Yes.
water. Like, is this okay?
Yeah.
And I'll have people reach out, and I'll, answer their questions, and then I won't hear from them for a couple months, sometimes 6 months, a year later, and then they'll reach out again. And so we do a lot, like our communication, we use WhatsApp a lot, text, call. I'm not opposed to jumping on a Zoom so that they can see me and who I am, and we can meet that way. I also like to meet in person. So there's been some instances where I've been communicating back and forth with the survivor, and I travel a lot with work and just travel. And so if I'm in that area, I'll reach out and say, "Hey, you want to meet for coffee?" And I'm happy to do that. So we communicate in all different ways. Email as well. But like you said, all of our volunteers have full-time jobs on
Yes.
top of this. And
Yes.
so we're not constantly monitoring the emails. And so I just encourage survivors, go through our website, which is an email. We monitor that one pretty frequently when people reach out. But beyond that, once we get connected, usually use WhatsApp or text. That it's just a lot easier for us to manage. I would say, making survivors feel safe emotionally. All of our volunteers, we come out of the church. So we understand our community, we understand our culture, our traditions. We talk a lot about the norms, we have shared language. And at the end of the day, we just love our community. We,
Yeah.
we are here to serve our community for the long term.
I do want to clarify if anybody does reach out to me, which a lot of people do because they see me a lot and talk to me or know me or whatever. So I don't want anybody to not reach out to me.
Yeah.
I am always here for anybody that wants to talk anytime. I will be happy, and I always do help them figure out, do they need to call you or not.
And I encourage people to reach out again. So if you reach out and you don't hear from me, it is not on purpose. So
Trust me,
please,
there's a fire hose coming at
yeah,
us,
exactly.
her, even more than me.
No,
So,
it's all. And so if
yes,
we've connected and you haven't reached out and I haven't reached back out, reach out again. You are not
yes,
bothering me at
no,
all. So I
no,
encourage people to, and that is kind of the hesitation, because then I feel like survivors in our community, there's a lot of abandonment,
yes,
and things that come up. And so, one thing that we talk to our advocates is, hey, if you say you're going to text on a certain day, please make sure you do. Or
yes.
if they do text you, even if you don't know the answer, like just text back right away. I hear you, I see you, and I'm going to need to figure something out and I'll follow up with you. Um, that's super important. And I try to do that, like practice what you preach, right?
Yes.
So,
I know, but when it comes at you from like literally every direction, there are days that I literally sit down at the end of the day and go through every single app and just see what I missed because it's a lot
it is
every
a
day,
lot.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. I am so honored and thrilled to do it with my whole heart. I just
Yeah.
exactly that point. If I don't reply in a same thing, yes, it's not because we don't care, believe me.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to us for just a second about we know what we've already kind of gone through what some of the common needs are that people come to you with. And you're primarily, is it just therapy? Do you ever reference legal help or any other kind of peer support or anyone else?
Yeah. We'll get to know the person a little bit that's reaching out to us. And a lot of times, if there is a lot of resources that are needed, we'll connect them to an advocate who can really, really take the time to connect and, kind of figure out how to tap into local resources and build a local community. I think that's really important. Um, yeah, we have people reach out that kind of need that case management piece in a sense in the
Yes.
social work world, where
Right.
it might be tapping into social services, housing comes up a lot, legal assistance. And legal assistance, I also reach out to my friend Cynthia and lean into to her side, when it becomes, questions around that, but connecting them to local resources. But we also get people that reach out that have questions like, how to start the therapeutic process, many times people have never accessed mental health treatment. So they don't know what to expect. And so we'll walk them through that. We'll kind of do a couple quick questions like, do you want in person, online? Do you prefer a male, female therapist? And then we'll kind of ask a few questions like, what are some of the things that are bothering you right now? Is it, and again, we don't need like the detailed trauma history, anything like that. It's really just like, what are you struggling with the most today? Is it sleep? Is it anxiety, depression? Um, a lot of people coming to us are really struggling with betrayal trauma and spiritual trauma. And so that helps us find the right therapist. And so we go through and we will look at the therapist credential, make sure that they're licensed in the state that they're treating. That's a big thing. Most, especially in the United States and in Canada, therapists have to be licensed in the state of whom they're treating. And so we've had a lot of people come and say, hey, I have a therapist in Florida that I want to keep, but they live in California. And so what we'll do is, and sometimes therapists are licensed in multiple states, and we'll just verify that. If they're not, then we'll have that conversation with the survivor like, hey, it's actually illegal for the therapist to be treating you. They can lose their license for that. Can we help you find a therapist within the state of California? So we'll talk through with that. And then kind of what to expect in, a therapist, like when you go into a therapist, what's going to happen, through the assessment process, kind of what the therapist is looking for. And I think we referenced this too. One of our clinicians did a fabulous job of putting together, it's a like 4 or 5 page PDF of just explaining the 2x2 church and the common phrases we use, what does workers, meetings, Wednesday night Bible study, what do all of these terminology things mean? And so we will give that to our survivors too, to take into a therapist, just so the therapist has some cultural context of the 2x2 church. So we will help with that. And then if funding is needed, now I will say the funding is reserved specifically for CSA and SA, but we'll work with people that if they aren't survivors of CSA or SA within the church, we can help through their insurance. And so that, that's managed care. It's what I oversee. So we'll help them connect through their insurance that way. So that's
Lovely.
kind of what we see mostly coming through pathways.
I love that. I just want everyone to know too that mark your calendars, March 18th. Natalie will be back with us here on Survivor, and we're going to be doing a whole show called Therapy 101. So it's really just going to be the whole process, how you can look at your insurance, whether you have coverage or not, how many, all of it, just everything around going to therapy. So we're just
And
going
bring
to
your
walk you through that.
questions. Yeah. And bring your
Yeah.
questions
Bring
because
your
that,
questions to that show for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, okay, so how do you vet the professionals that you reference or send people to?
Yeah. So we look at their credentials. So whether they're licensed, and in some countries, the credentials are different. So in the States, it's licensed clinical social worker, marriage family therapist, or a licensed LPC, licensed professional counselor is what LPC stands for. And so we'll just make sure that the person that they're wanting to see has the right credentials. We kind of double check the specialty to make sure they're what the therapist specializes in matches kind of what the need is. And then, we look at gender and whether or not the person wants in person or online. And so, but again, we don't need all of the details. I don't want to, freak anybody out. Like if I call pathways, I'm going to have to go all the way into my trauma story. And that is not the case at all. And so from there, then once we help evaluate the professionals, pathways will, once we get a release of information signed, we'll then start communicating directly with the therapist. So the survivor can really just take a step back, and then we'll communicate back and forth just about the treatment plan, because again, that helps us budget out the funding piece, and then the how the therapist gets paid. And so we're that intermediary for the different funds. And so once we, and actually this is a really important point that I didn't say before, once we get all of that together, then the information we send to the funds is protected by a unique client identifier. So the funds don't even know who they're paying for. So unless, the survivor reaches out directly to the fund and says something, the funds don't know. And so that's also unique in our process. And we just use a unique client identifier. And then we ask the therapist, hey, when you send, your treatment plan, don't use the name, use this unique client identifier. And again, it's just an extra layer of confidentiality.
I love that. One of my questions on this piece of it, is in that referral process. At what point, I just want people to understand, some therapists, it's a difference in how their doctor is, whether they can provide medication or not.
Correct. Yes. And we know that. So your licensed clinicians cannot prescribe medication. It needs to be done under the license of psychiatry. And so sometimes psychiatrists will use nurse practitioners, it's under their licensed. So yes, we know that, and we have
I
been
just
also
want to make sure everybody's aware, like when they do you in the intake. Yeah. So if you're feeling like you're going to need medication, that's part of the process. So
and indicate that, because then
yes.
we'll work with you on, because a lot of psychiatrists don't do a great job of therapy.
Right.
They really just prescribe
You're right.
medication.
Yes. Yes.
And your appointments are pretty short. That's reality. So we can do both, where we'll connect you with psychiatry and we'll connect you with a therapist.
Yeah. Just wanted to make that point for people who are not aware of that. Okay, so talk to us a little bit more about the advocacy training, how often you do it. Is there anything else on resources and support that I missed?
No, I think we covered everything. If not,
Okay,
we'll cover it March 18th if there's questions that come up.
we will. Yes. Okay, talk to us about the advocacy training. If there's people out there that want to become advocates and they have, what does that look like? Who's it for? How often do you do it? What do they kind of learn? That kind of thing.
All the things.
All the
Um,
things.
our advocacy training is amazing, and I'm biased. It's amazing. I go to a ton of conferences and trainings, and I've taught many different curriculums. Um, Jan Morton, she has done an amazing job in developing this advocacy training. It's been developed specifically for the 2x2 community. It's 30 hours. Most of it is self directed online. We have a platform that the training is through. We do meet on a weekly basis for about an hour and a half, where we really go over the skill set that was being learned the week prior. We'll do role plays. We'll really talk through like the skill set that we want advocates to walk away from. And so it's open to anyone in our community. I would say survivors that want to take the training, I would just ask that either treatment is in place already, they're going to a therapist, or they've been through treatment, because the information that you learn about can be really triggering. And so we just want our survivors to be in a safe place to take the training. And people can reach out and we have that conversation, but it's open to anyone that wants to take it. And
Yes.
so, and I will say that we also we're mindful of the cohort that we put together. And so we've had a few people from the ministry reach out and want to take it. we have survivors, we have people that have left, we have people that are still in. And so we are picky on the cohort that we put together. Um, right now, we are running 2 cohorts, and that's about as many as we can do. And there's about 10 people, 10 learners in each cohort. And so that's about what we can do, because that's teaching, two days a week on top of all of the stuff. And so our clinicians, Ben, my husband teaches, I teach. It's great. It's the feedback that we get is pretty impactful. So some of the topics that we go over, we will start with just information about emotional dysregulation. Does that look like in survivors? Disassociation, kind of how to check in with survivors in a trauma-informed way. We touch on healthy anger, self-care, and boundaries is super important when you're wanting to be an advocate. We talk about child sexual prevention. What does that look like? Understanding perps. And then we move into, towards the end of the training, a suicide conversation. We've taken pieces out of CIS training and mental health 101. I'm assist trained. So is my husband, Ben. He's assist trained. So we really looked at
I
that.
don't think that everybody knows what that means. Can
I
you?
knew you were going to ask me. I will look it up. I can't think of it off
I
the
know what it means too, and I can't
I
think of.
know.
It'll come to me in just a second. I want to clarify that this is 100% volunteer, and nobody. You do not charge for.
So we have started charging $65 for the 10-week training to cover the platform cost, because
Perfect.
we were covering all of that, and so we can't do that anymore. We
I
need to
agree.
ask. So it's just covering our expenses.
Yes.
So
Okay. Someone else is asking cohort, a term she's not familiar with, meaning in the field. It just means a group of people. But you can clarify that.
yeah, yeah. So we also go into grounding techniques. So if an advocate is working with a survivor and they can tell that the survivor is really having a difficult time, we teach what to do in that situation. So it really goes into a lot of detail on how to assess a survivor's well-being, and that's what our role plays are about. Is we'll have somebody play the survivor and then our learner play the advocate. And we always have a clinician on each of our role play. And so we'll go through different scenarios and really just teach skills on how to respond to different situations. The other thing that we teach, especially at the beginning of the course, is a self check as an advocate before interacting with a survivor. So, am I in a good place to have this conversation today? Because again, we don't want to cause further harm, and we don't want to burn our advocates out. So,
Well, one of the reasons that I decided to move forward with survivor rights as a platform is that the layers and the levels and the systemic amount of trauma in this church worldwide is astounding. And it becomes more astounding to me every day. Listening to that last night, I was heartbroken.
yeah, it's layer upon layer upon
It
layer
is.
upon layer.
And how the more we can shine the light on this, all of us have conversations like this, um, for people to really start understanding, because I think a lot of people feel they're alone or they're isolated, and they feel, that's what the system does to us. It makes you think, oh, I'm the only one that feels this way, and I'm the horrible person for thinking that. And let me call Natalie. We will tell you the severity of the situation wherever you are. We probably know what's happening. So yes, someone else is asking, it's a class. Yes, just clarify the advocacy class if you would. It's a 10-week
Yeah,
course.
you can contact Jan. She's our training coordinator, and you do it through our website at the resource tab. It'll pop up. So yeah, an online course. So you will be given login credentials to get into the training platform. And there's different weeks. So, and we've set it up to where only the week that you're in, you can see. So you can't, try to fit a 10-week training into, a couple days. We pace the learners. And so, yeah, you'll go in, you'll complete your first week, and then you have what we call is just a check-in. It's about an hour and a half, and it goes by so fast. And you'll do your online class, and it's a chance to get to know the other learners too. So it's a cohort, and we keep the class sizes between 8 to 10. And in the class, we'll, kind of touch on some of the areas that you've learned the previous week. And then we'll break out into usually 2 breakout sessions. And each breakout session has a clinician and has one of our training volunteers that they've gone through the training and they want to help with the training. And we'll go through role plays. We'll talk through questions that the learners have on a smaller scale. And then towards the end of the time, come back together and debrief. And really, it's just to emphasize the learning that they did the week before.
So, how often do you offer this, and how many at a time again?
So we offer it. I think we're doing we're 3 sessions a year. So we're in a session right now where we have 2 cohorts. We'll most likely have a session in the summertime and then one in the fall. What gets a little bit tricky is that our learners are internationally.
Yes.
And so the time frames and
Seasons.
all the things. Yeah, we try to work around that. I will say that we had one cohort where I think they were getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning to, to Zoom in.
Yes.
Like, whew, that is dedication. I don't know if I'd be awake at that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, what you guys, you do so many amazing things. Okay, so few hard questions. I want to just ask these very specifically. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there about survivors of the 2x2 church. What would you say is the biggest misunderstanding of survivors?
That I would say, and this has come up more recently, that criminal arrest and litigation validates abuse. So,
Boom.
yeah. And that's tied, and even taking it a step further, um, where survivors have tied their healing to an arrest or to a
Yes.
litigation. And we try really hard. I mean, we understand it is validating. Absolutely. And we know the reality of, even in general population, outside of our population, criminal arrest, and I'll have to lean into Cynthia when we have her on next. I can't remember the percentage of, how many arrests actually go to criminal court. I will say this. So when I worked in child welfare, when we would remove children from the home, we would take that petition, that case, through a juvenile court system. The criminal piece was done in a separate court system. And most of our cases, the petition was found true, right? Through our investigation, we found that there was child abuse that happened, and the kids, were removed from the family, all the things. Very rarely was there a criminal case that was associated, that there was that somebody was arrested and went to jail because of the crimes that they committed against their children. And so that's just kind of an example of just our criminal justice system. And so if I can just say, the biggest misunderstanding is that criminal arrest, civil litigation it doesn't validate. I mean, it does validate, but just because if it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that the abuse you suffered didn't happen.
Thank you for saying that. One of the things that I have been very, very highly motivated about on Survivor and in all of the platforms, I don't care where it is, I'm not allegiance. It's not about what's what, is the is that I believe if there's any way we can give them social justice,
Absolutely.
if there's any way that our shining the light, that us talking about it openly and publicly, which is why I wanted to do Survivor Rights Public, if that can bring any kind of closure to there being a uh, justice by social media of any kind,
Absolutely.
I'm all over it. That's what those red boxes do. All of it. Like there is justice. There is some closure and justice in there. There's a lot of psychology around when that red box comes out, what happens to a person. It just gives validation on so many levels. So that's my biggest motivation every day of my life is if I can do anything to bring closure and clarity for people to feel like they are seen and that they could get the validation that they need in order to move forward.
Yep. 100%.
Okay, so what resistance have you faced internally and externally? And I'm going to say inside the 2x2 church. I just want to say it out loud one more time, even though we've heard it 100 times, and I want you to answer it. I know what my answer is on that. I want to know what your answer is.
You know, the majority of the resistance is silence. And silence is still communication. Um, it's still saying things without saying things.
Yes.
So I would say, internally, the resistance to change, the resistance to, I will say, listening to a woman. There was a lot of resistance, especially dealing with brother workers, being a female. Um, and interestingly enough, resistance to educated people and
Yes.
hearing what
Yes.
they're trying to tell them. Like, and it's not just, I mean, and I've heard it like, an HR professional stepping in saying,
Mhm.
hey, you've got a PR problem. Let me help you with this.
Right. Yeah.
An organization like, hey, we can help you with this.
Yes.
And just that resistance. So that,
It's so not real world. Like there is a reason, so not real world. There is a reason that I literally blow your credentials all over the place whenever I can, because in real world, you have so much authority. So like
yes.
they do not understand real world. They do not. I don't care. They do not. And I try very hard to be graceful for them in that they're ignorant, completely ignorant in that what they don't know. But wow, did you just hit it?
Yeah, it just was astounding.
It is
And
astounding.
I guess what makes it so astounding is because that's not our reality. Like if we responded the way they have, I would have lost my license. I would have lost my career. I would have ultimately
Yes.
probably lost my house. Like, nobody would want to hire me. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's
And they hide behind saying that they're called by God. God, read the Bible. This is not how Jesus treats people.
that's right.
Period.
That
Full
is
stop.
full stop. No, full stop. Agreed.
So, next hard question. What would you say to someone who's still inside that thinks even us having this conversation tonight is bitterness?
You, but I haven't met one bitter person yet. I'm
Boom.
I'm actually kind of looking for them, to be honest. Everyone that we have worked with, from survivors to advocates to concerned people that have left the church, even to people within the church, I, I haven't found one bitter person yet. Now, have I interacted with hurt, angry, tired,
Yes.
frustrated people that are addressing and putting words to harmful behaviors? Absolutely. And you
Yes.
know what? Trigger warning, Jesus would have done the same thing. He would have done the same thing. So yeah, I just kind of smile and laugh. I think the bitter ones are still in the church, to be quite honest. But
I'm gonna agree with you there. It's so mind-blowing for me, but anyway, yeah, I'm on a roll. I've been on a roll since last night. I gotta tell you, I am fired up today, man. That just pissed me right off. I just how they can say that what they're doing to any of these people, any of us,
yeah,
is Christ-like or biblical in any way. In
no.
any way.
And honestly, that was like the glaring thing is for Ben and I, just where's the love? I mean, the lack
Yes.
of love and humanity.
Yes.
And I mean, that's that should just become natural, right? That should just be a
Right.
natural instinct
Yes.
reaction. It just, yeah, the lack of love and the lack of communal care. I mean, I feel like we have to model that for people. And, you know, and that's one of the reasons why for Pathway, the why behind Pathway is it's really to love people where they're at. And
Yes.
it's regardless of, I just want to emphasize, regardless of whether or not you are in the church or out, we have no judgment with that. We understand completely. And we can put that aside and just meet you where you're at.
I just want to say that to everybody listening tonight and to whenever they listen. So much love. I mean, I get so much enjoyment and satisfaction from the community that we have outside, and our friendships that we've built. It's just, it's so fulfilling in
It
so many
really
ways.
is. It's so amazing the people that have come into our life,
Yes.
and just the community that has been building through
Yes.
our advocacy, and it's been amazing. Like,
Yes, it is.
yeah,
I feel like we're all like everybody's kind of in their lane. We're starting to come together and really just like be a force. It's not like pick, pick, pick. It's like, oh man, that
great.
Army front line is on its way and we are marching the same march. And I am,
There's a
mm,
seat at the table for everyone in
yes,
this, and regardless, again, of the
yes.
skill set that you bring, there's a seat at the table for everyone.
Yes. This leads us right into I wanted to just have you very quickly say um, how the spiritual abuse, like, so in your daily life, you deal with abuse and addiction and all kinds of stuff that does not 9 times out of 10 have the spiritual layer to it. So taking that aside and putting this layer on, it's a really, really huge layer when you put spiritual abuse on top of normal real world. I don't know, it's not real world because it's very real,
Yeah,
outside the bubble.
yeah.
Talk for just a second about how that extra layer of the spiritual abuse affects something that someone outside the bubble would experience in your day-to-day job versus what you see in what we're discussing tonight.
And you know what? I think we could probably do a whole podcast on this one
Yes,
too,
I agree.
because it damages both a person's inner world and then their main source of meaning and support. So the trauma is not just emotional or physical, but it's also spiritual and relational. And
Yes.
so it really deepens the wound. So when you start to attach trauma to God, faith, or even the ultimate truth, abuse feels eternal almost. It's not limited in like time or place. And so you have survivors often carrying intense guilt and shame because it's not only were they abused, but I failed spiritually, or I'm sinful and this is what happened because of that. And so it compounds the
Yes.
shame like so intensely. And then on top of the church's response to survivors, the guilt, shame, isolation, I mean, that just compounds it, right?
It
And
happened 40 years ago. Why can't you just get over it?
oh, yes, yes, I hate
Oh, oh, you want me to slap you? Like,
that.
oh, You know how many times I've heard that? Can we please just stop talking about it? That happened 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago.
It's again, it's that education piece. And
Yes.
so
They're ignorant
totally,
completely. And
yeah.
I mean that in a horrible, horrible, horrible way.
And I think the relationship trauma is it's tough because you've got the fear of excommunication, family rejection, the divine punishment, right? You'll lose your salvation if you leave. And so, with those constant messages of,
Yes.
then you just start mistrusting yourself and start mistrusting your own decisions,
Everything.
everything. So, yeah, this is such a huge topic.
Yes.
I think we can dive.
Natalie's going to be on the show a lot. That's once or twice a month, okay, guys? So just putting it out there because this is the level of commitment. I mean, this is where we're at. This is what it has to happen. We have to have conversations like this so that people can start understanding that they're not alone, that they can watch this in the privacy of their own home and feel like, oh my God, she's talking to me.
Yeah. Well, and the videos have been kind of building upon one another. Our
Yes.
first video we did together talking about a very narcissistic system,
Yes.
um,
Full trauma.
to this being a cult, a high controlled group. And so, and the reason why people leave, the bonded theory of why people either didn't leave or haven't left yet. And that question of like, I'm a highly educated woman. How did I not see this before? And all of those things. So I'd encourage people to go back and look at those videos.
Yes.
And then we
Yes.
can have future conversations. If you have
Yes.
questions, comment on the video so that we can just have future conversations to this, and putting words
Yes.
to our experiences
Yes.
is super important.
I think that this whole first year is going to be us educating, and then it's going to evolve into, okay, people will start having a lot more questions because, like, right now, they're going, this is the average person hasn't had a conversation like this ever in their life. So it's a lot of terminology and, a lot of other things, but
Well,
it's
and once
still,
we've set this foundation, then we can really start moving into that space of like, what does healing
yes,
look like? We now have
yes,
words to put to our
yes,
experiences. We can move into that healing, and then we can move into this joy, right? Of like,
yes,
of, of, what the future holds for us.
yes.
But yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, well, last night I learned something new, and I'm going to do it when we get to that point. But usually we're so exhausted by the end of one of these. They have after parties at the Bridging the Gap. After their show, they do an after party. I'm like, I want an after party because yes, Cynthia, this is water, but I want some wine after the after party. I can have wine. Anyway, yes. Okay. So I don't want to slow us down. You and I could go on and on. If we had Cynthia on this conversation, which she is going to be on very soon, that's going to be talking about suicide. Um, specific, very specifically. So I want you all to know that that's coming. Okay. So that was Survivor Reality. Those are just kind of like everybody that's out there. I want people to know that that's basically. Do you want to add anything else to that before we start? We've gone a little bit into the vision now.
Yeah, no, I think what we can do a deeper dive on the
Okay.
spiritual abuse, and the responding to why didn't you just leave, and all those things. Yeah, we can come back to that.
So we are getting down on time, so I'm going to rush through these very, very quickly. Is there anything specific that has surprised you since starting Pathways?
Not surprise me. Working in child welfare services for 18 years, I've pretty much seen a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I would say what has been so incredible, and we talked about this, the humans that have come into this space at just the right time. It's amazing. And so it's continuing to build that community and that network. And so, yeah, I think
Amazing.
it is.
I do
Yeah.
also want people to know that I want to repeat that you're a 501c3. So if there are people out there that would like to donate to you, it is a tax deductible contribution. There are a lot of expenses associated with this. And I know that you and Ben have eaten a lot of those yourselves personally.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I applaud you for that on so many levels. I understand. I do the same thing. But there is a deep, deep need for a lot of this technology, all the certifications, all of the software. I mean, there's a lot out there. So I just want anybody that's listening, if you have a heart for this and feel like that you would like to support this, please reach out to Natalie. It is a tax deductible contribution. So,
And we do have a donation tab on our website.
yes, you can do it that way.
Yes.
If
Yep.
you can do it anonymously there if you also want to. So,
Absolutely.
okay. And then I want to know where you see Pathways being in 5 years. I know that's
Well,
hard to see because right now, but I want to
yeah.
hear.
Well, I mean, okay, so our survivor age range is from age 8 to 91. Average reporting age is right around 52 years of age. So I'm thinking of pathways to healing in the next 50 years.
Oh,
And so it's creating an organization that will be in existence. So, that's why we're bringing on our electronic health record. It's why
yes.
we're putting a process and a system in place. It actually kind of mirrors like a managed health plan, to be honest. Um, but, moving into, do we need to hire a full-time position for this? Does our donations cover that? Just things that we're just kind of brainstorming right now. Um, because volunteer, I love our volunteers, and you can't expect somebody to volunteer for 50 years.
Right.
And that's why we're so committed to educating, really to expand our healing communities. So we've got to continue to grow our education program, our advocates, the untapped. We need to lean into our younger generation. We've been really focused, at middle age, upper, older adults, of focusing now into our younger generation, and
Yes.
they have a lot to offer. And so those are kind of some of the sustainability things that we're talking about.
Love it. I love your mind. Um, I don't want to close tonight without uh, having the practical concept. If anyone watching this tonight feels triggered or whenever they watch it, what should they do first?
So I'm going to just teach you a very quick grounding technique. It's one of my favorite ones, and it's the five senses technique. And so you can just hold your hand up, five. And so you just think of five things that you can feel. And I want you to literally touch them. So is it my sweater, my hair, my glasses? And just note what it feels like. Is the metal on my chair cold? My sweater kind of rough? And just mentally note that. When you go down to four, I want you to look and I want you to identify four things you see. I see a computer, I see a coffee mug, a phone, and a plant that's dying. Okay, four things. When you go down to three, I want you to think of three things you can hear. Is it the cars outside, my computer humming, a heater going off? Then when you get down to number two, I want you to identify two things that you can smell. Perfume, something in the room. And then when you get down to one thing you can taste. Did you take a drink of coffee? And so what that does is it takes your mind off of the emotional area of your brain and it focuses into reality here and then now, and it connects you to something that you're in today's, you're right here, real time. And so you can do that. There's different breathing when you start to feel triggered. I can start kind of adding these grounding techniques every time we do a talk at the end, and then
That'd be
that'll
great.
kind of give you some skill sets to utilize.
Love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, and then I don't want to miss anything. I want anybody out there, if you guys could put your questions in there while we're wrapping this up. You're going to put the website on there. And I wanted to close it with a personal, I want people to know you the way I know you. I want to talk for just a second about what this work has taught you about resilience, what you do on days that feel heavy, um, And then the next question I want to ask very specifically, but let's talk those two first.
Yeah, so resilience. So, I mean, I've been in this space for 30 years, so it's not a new space for me. I understand this type of work. It's a marathon. You got to take time outs when needed. There's going to be times where you feel like you're sprinting. So I have an incredible support system. I have my humans, and you all know who you are out there: Cynthia, Donna, Jan, my Pathways team, board, family, my besties, Ben. I mean, I could not do this work without all of these people, walking with me. It's not just me.
Right.
And so it's when it gets heavy, like I feel like the right people show up at the exact moment I need them. It is amazing.
Yes.
And I'm a
God
very
is good.
God is good, and I'm a very spiritual person. So God's nudges, I mean, He has been there with me throughout all of this. And so, yeah, and I couldn't do it without Ben. He's a wonderful partner. He knows when to bring the coffee. He knows when to bring the wine, and to just sit in the space.
I love that. The last question that I wanted to ask you is if you could say one thing directly to every 2x2 survivor listening right now, what would it be?
It's actually three things. Uh, God loves you, and there's days where it may feel like He doesn't. He does. Healing is possible, and I think sometimes the hardest step is just reaching out. But there is nothing out there that cannot be healed, and there is a huge community that is willing to walk this journey with you.
Yes.
So
I
reach
love
out.
that.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. Sarah Mitchell's asking if they can support scholarships for advocates,
Yes.
and any need for any who cannot pay for the training. Yeah, they can go directly to the donate button on the Pathways website and do it that way. There's a little spot that you can put in that's what you're doing it for. Um, Anything else you wanted to say to that?
Nope. Nope. You said it for me. Just designate the donation, and we will put it towards the advocacy training. So yes,
Okay. And Fran's saying thank you. She was glad she got to meet you at the Wayne Jacobson training.
I'm glad I got to meet her too. That's great.
Okay. Any other questions out there? Otherwise, I'm going to give you last word. We're a little bit over on time.
No, no
Don't
other
have any other
questions.
questions? Okay. You have final word. Anything?
I love you all.
I love you all too. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching every week, for everything that everybody does. Thank you, Natalie, for your time tonight, for being here week after week, for everything that you do. I cannot say it enough. What a difference you're making in so many lives that you're saving. So we're looking forward to the next time we have you on, which is going to be, I don't know, Cynthia, maybe you could, I can't remember what the date is, but it's going to be the three of us talking about the suicide epidemic. I hate to say that word. I wish it wasn't.
I wish it wasn't either. Yeah.
Sadly, it is a very real problem. So, all right. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you.